We begin this hour with a shocking story. Allegations that some LMPD officers were drinking at a funeral home before they rushed to a deadly shooting at the J-Town Kroger.
In this investigation, Valerie Chin, Travis Ragsdale, and Jason Riley reveal how whispers of a wild police party unraveled a story you'll only see on WDRB.
October 24th, 2018. Two black shoppers are shot and killed at this Jeffersontown Kroger by this man, Gregory Bush, in a hate crime that shocked our community. And now we have uncovered more shocking allegations that some officers who showed up here had been drinking. WDRB spent years investigating, filing lawsuits, and fighting for information police didn't want to release. We started looking into an LMPD retirement party in February 2019, in which top commanders are accused of getting drunk and having sex in the office and telling co-workers to keep it secret.
It's very troubling because there's no reason for any person who witnessed this retirement party to be told to keep your mouth shut. Why?
Attorney Thomas Clay has been talking to officers close to the investigation.
I was told that the person who was being honored at the retirement party and the person who was a commander of homicide were involved in this excessive consumption of alcohol.
A judge recently ordered LMPD to turn over the information to WDRB.
I've had contact with several members of the law enforcement community who have knowledge about this retirement party, who have serious reservations about the veracity of what the conclusions were.
WDRB obtained this memo to then Police Chief Steve Conrad from Lieutenant Grant Riggs, Homeland Security Commander, which outlines what he calls disturbing information passed along from an ATF special agent. The memo claims that officers were drinking on duty in the LMPD homicide office during Major Todd Kessinger's going away party. He was in charge of the Major Crimes Unit. The memo says Lieutenant Emily McKinley and Major Todd Kessinger had to be driven home separately by members of the homicide unit due to being intoxicated. Surveillance video shows someone barely able to stand up being carried out of the building by three others. Documents and officer interviews indicate that's Kessinger. This tip to the Metro Louisville Ethics Tip Line had the same information. LMPD still redacting the names of the two involved, listing them only as a major and a lieutenant. The tipster said they were too intoxicated to drive home and that they ordered detectives to not say anything to anyone. LMPD's Public Standards Unit looks into policy violations. The information a judge ordered LMPD to turn over to WDRB shows that 54 people, mostly officers, were interviewed by PSU, including LMPD Lieutenant Riggs and that ATF Special Agent Joe Persails. It's what he said that caught our attention, because it wasn't about drinking at that retirement party in 2019. He questioned whether those same officers had been drinking before they responded to the Kroger shooting 4 months earlier.
What are your takeaways from the PSU investigation? Why do you think it wasn't done correctly?
It just seems like they went into the investigation and the results were foregone conclusions. And I think the questions indicate that maybe they weren't really going and digging into what actually happened.
PSU asked Persails about McKinley. Have you ever seen an indication of where she was intoxicated or anything like that? Persails says, I responded to the Kroger shooting. She was there. She seemed like she was a little tipsy. From my experience, she didn't seem right. And then I heard that they were drinking at that time. Persails says she was kind of swaying, and so was the major. The Kroger shooting happened the same afternoon as a wake for an LMPD detective. LMPD Lieutenant Grant Riggs told PSU that officers were drinking at the funeral home, telling PSU, they're over there having an Irish funeral in the corner of a parking lot, where they're consuming alcohol, The lack of discipline, the lack of leadership, I don't know what you'd want to call it. Riggs told investigators he didn't see homicide officers actually drink at the wake, but that 12 to 20 of them were congregating in the funeral home's parking lot, and Persails says they smelled like alcohol. It's not clear whether LMPD investigated the alcohol claims at the Kroger shooting. But it did investigate drinking at the LMPD retirement party and interviewed Emily McKinley. LMPD blacked out her name in the records it gave to WDRB, but she denies ever drinking on the job. She says the night of the retirement party, she and 3 other officers had drinks at the Granville pub when they were off duty. Then she says they all went back to the office, reminisced about the officer who died, and that she and Kessinger both got rides home because they were upset. McKinley says Kessinger was not intoxicated. She says he had more drinks than I did, more than one. I don't recall anything out of the ordinary. He was under control. Riggs told the same investigators nobody's doing the things that they're supposed to be doing, but we can have a party and get drunk in the office. That's frustrating as hell. The PSU eventually found all the allegations from the party, including alcohol and sex, were unfounded. No one was disciplined, and the case was quietly closed. Kessinger was never interviewed for the PSU investigation because he had retired.
I will endeavor to.
And in December 2019, McKinley was promoted to major and is still on the job. We called McKinley to talk about the allegations. We just wanted to give you an opportunity to tell your side of the story.
Yeah, I'd rather not. I appreciate it.
Kessinger couldn't be reached for comment.
What do you hope comes out of all of this?
Well, I hope that somebody would go back and perhaps encourage those who witnessed what happened to tell the truth.
Valerie Chin, WDRB News.
LMPD did not respond to our requests for comment. WDRB's Travis Ragsdale and Jason Riley detail what other officers told investigators about fears of retaliation. You can read that story right now on our website, WDRB.com.